The manhwa begins with a guy saying he's there again, and feeling a little melancholy as he looks up and sees a floating island covered in smoke which he nicknames Smoky Sky Island. It has ruined Western-style buildings, and it seems that there was never life there. He sees something and, looking better, he distinguishes a human shadow. A man in a firm voice tells him to go forward and come down, because he will be waiting for him on the edge of the abyss. When his eyes start to shine, the guy feels a kind of discharge and wakes up sweating. She's panting and says she can't believe she's had that weird dream again. We finally found out that his name is Aura when someone calls him to wake up. He comments that he feels he knows that man from the dream and also the abyss. While brushing her teeth, she cleans the mirror and is surprised to see that her eyes fill with tears. He wonders if maybe he's been studying too much lately. His father comes out of the bathroom and sees him getting ready for school. She tussles his hair and asks if he fell asleep, and the boy asks her to stop treating him like a child, since he is 15 years old. The father begins to show the muscles. Sora takes the mouthwash and says that if they didn't live in such a small apartment, he wouldn't have to see his father naked every day. The father replies that, when he becomes rich, he will make them live in a bigger house, and he and Riku will have their own rooms. Sora comments that he has been saying the same thing for 5 years, and the father laughs, saying that life became much easier since Riku joined the self-defense forces. Sora explains that it has been 3 years since his brother joined the SDF, and that one day it will be his turn. And then it will be time to say goodbye to his lively life, to his father, who is always joking and a little irresponsible, and to his mother. She seems strict, but she loves her children very much, and that comforts him. When they sit down to eat together, the building starts shaking violently, and they wonder if it's an earthquake. Sora says he always knew that that peaceful life would end one day, but he didn't expect it to be that way. A gigantic shadow appears on the building. A tower rises from the underground and crosses the sky, marking the beginning of a new era for humanity. Sora says that that can only be a joke, and that he, at that time, still did not know how much the appearance of that tower would change the history of mankind, while they send combat heads to investigate. But he knew one thing: that tower was connected with his dreams. I could feel it. Then we see the family on the phone with the brother, Riku, who says that he is fine, and that it is enough to get the instructions from the SDF to be able to return home soon. He promises, but with a weak voice. The family starts to get tense, and Sora says that he lost contact with his brother that night. The newscast said that everything would be fine if people stayed at home, but it wasn't long before the newscasts also stopped broadcasting, and towers started springing up all over the world. Now, the same message is repeated on the radio. It is necessary to evacuate to a shelter. That was the order. While they start to prepare their things, the mother leaves a note for the brother advising where they are going. On the way to the shelter, they see a lot of strange things. Sora says that everything seemed to be trying to say something. Soldiers were constantly passing by with their vehicles, all with expressions of pure despair. The vehicles were covered with horrible marks, and a terrible smell of rot was coming from inside. The father asks what is happening in the world. They finally arrive at the temporary shelter, which is a gym. The place is full of refugees, but almost no one speaks. It seemed that everyone was just waiting for death. The father tells Sora to keep walking. Even in that silence, there were people causing a ruckus, doing everything to get attention. A guy grabs the hand of a child and demands that he return the bread. The boy replies that that guy has already eaten his, pointing to his pocket. The subject hits the child with a knee to the stomach, and people pretend not to see. The guy laughs after taking the bread from the child, and says that he is still not satisfied, so it's okay if he takes more. The child, in pain, says that he is fine, and the subject affirms that, until all that is over, that bread is his, which will only be a few days, and it is not as if the child is going to die. The boy begins to cry, until Sora's father puts his hand on the guy's shoulder and asks him what he is doing. The guy tells him to mind his own business, but the father orders him to return the bread to the boy. The guy raises his fist to hit him, but Sora's father knocks him down with a kick to the chest. He hands the bread back to the boy, who thanks him. The subject begins to insult him, but stops when he receives a serious look. He clicks his tongue and says he'll remember that. Sora calls his dad, who tells him not to worry, he'll keep an eye on that guy. Sora says that even after he is dead, he will not forget that man. We found out that her name is Kagaba Eiji, a real scumbag, who loved to make life impossible for Sora at school. Sora never had peace. A man runs into the shelter saying he has an emergency message. Everyone should exit from the back and get into the trucks as quickly as possible. The civilians ask the reason. The man says that it is confidential, but apologizes for not being able to disclose it. They ask if this is serious, since they spent 2 days locked up at home, then they had to go to a shelter like that. And so far no one explains anything to them. A guy gets irritated, and then asks what he pays taxes for. Strange noises start to be heard, and the soldier becomes terrified. He says they've arrived and everyone should run. The man asks what he means, and Sora takes the initiative by pushing his father and mother towards the exit. He says he has a really bad feeling about what's going to happen. The soldier starts holding the door with his hands to block it, saying that he will not be able to stop them for long. So they must get into the vehicles immediately. The door is knocked down, and we see a group of armored enemies invade the place, killing the soldier instantly, and filling the atmosphere with their laughter that drowns out the screams of the civilians. Sora is still wondering what the hell is going on. We see Sora staying behind, while the monsters advance even further into the room. His parents turn to see him, just before they get in the truck, and everyone keeps running as fast as possible to board the trailers. Sora tells his parents that obviously no one else can fit in there anymore, and that they should climb in first, while he helps them. His father grabs him by the arm, not wanting to leave him behind, but the other people in the truck say that it is already full, and that, if he is going to keep delaying, then he has to get out. Sora realizes that they are about to take his parents out of there, so he decides to do something, and runs saying that he is going to get another truck. The next one he finds is full, and the next one too, until finally he finds one at the end, and sees someone coming up. He starts climbing with difficulty until someone reaches out to help him. Sora thanks, and then the guy starts laughing, asking if he's really thanking in such a situation. Yes, Sora gets scared, and we see that it's none other than Kagaba, who says he's happy that Sora came on his own. And Sora wonders why, of all people, it had to be him. Kagaba then throws him out of the truck, saying that he should die instead of his father, calling him trash as he falls to the ground. Sora thinks it's the end. The civilians start trampling on him, and he says he still doesn't want to die. Curled up in the fetal position, holding his head, he begs for someone to help him. He begins to see the silhouette of someone standing in front of him, and he is the man of his dreams. Sora recognizes him. The man, with his eyes shining, says again that he will wait for him on the edge of the abyss. Sora then opens his eyes in an unknown place, wondering if it was all just a dream. But more importantly, where is he? We see a gun raised in the air, coming down right in front of his head. His eyes fill with dread as he sees that a goblin tried to kill him. Sora starts running, asking where his parents are and why only he is there, saying maybe he is in hell, wondering if he is dead. The goblin throws his axe, slashing Sora's cheek. He sees some debris on the ground, but he's still panicking, wondering why the monster won't leave him alone. And he realizes that he has no choice but to try to fight. When the goblin lunges at him, Sora runs straight towards the stones. He tries to concentrate, thinking that the tower appeared out of nowhere. Kagaba threw him out of the truck, found the mysterious old man, and now he's about to become the goblin's toy. But he can't ignore that rage inside of him. He starts screaming while holding a stone and throws himself at the goblin. We do not see the fight, but he defeats him, saying that he survived the melee. He says this looks like something out of a game, and wonders what comes next. He notices a black text on the goblin's chest, and thinks it may be his level. We see that it is a Roman numeral. The ground begins to shake, which puts him even more in a panic, and a black crystal begins to come out of the goblin's chest. Sora looks at him confused, seeing that even the goblin's bones now have a purple color. And the crystal starts floating directly towards his chest. Sora feels something strange when the glass goes through his exterior, and he wonders if that's a bad thing. But lightning starts coming out of the scar on his face, and his wounds start to heal. He says it's not just that, he also feels stronger, and he wonders if he went up a level, like in a game. He takes the goblin's gun, saying that maybe there are more of those things on the island, and it would be better to explore so as not to be surprised. It goes all over the island. He says he made a complete turn, but found no monsters or paths to follow. He looks towards some ruins, saying that, if he wants to get out of there, that's his only option. We see a staircase that descends to the bottom of the island. He goes there and looks scared towards the edge. He says that it is just like the islands of the cloudy sky of his dreams, and that seems very wrong. He walks down the steps slowly, saying that in games that kind of terrain is perfect for monsters to ambush players, and that there might be something waiting to push him off the cliff. And that, if this were a game, he might be reborn, but he's not going to take a chance to find out. Finally, He says he managed it by seeing the end of the staircase that leads to an entrance. He approaches cautiously. There is a lit torch and some kind of text on a stone. Sora says he's never seen characters like this before, but they just flow in his mind. It is written, "The fragments belong to the bearers. By acquiring all of them, you will get the right to get out of the abyss." He says that means that he is really in the abyss and that he needs to gather all the fragments to get out of there. He smiles, saying that at least now he has a clear goal. And that motivates him because he knows what he has to do. Thinking calmly, the monster he faced wasn't even that strong. And as he moves on to the next area, he says he's confident he'll be able to deal with whatever comes next. As he goes through the doors, he sees a strong light, and says that the first layer of the abyss had 900 square meters. The number engraved on the monster's body was 1. The second layer was 1,800 square meters, and one of the monsters had the number 2, while we watch wolves. The third layer had 3,600 square meters, and one of the 4 monsters, small snake, he had the number 3. The fragments are only on the bodies of the monsters with numbers. Those fragments are the key to enter the next level, and the higher the number, the stronger the monster becomes. I would like it to be not a montage sequence, but something more developed. But he says there's something even more. Worryingly, the area doubles in size every time it goes up, as well as the number of monsters doubles, as we see this time. He killed some bear monsters, but it's not like he's falling behind, as he's getting stronger with each new stage. This time, he lands a punch in the back of a giant monster's head, killing it. As he climbed the floors, the variety of monsters kept increasing in each new area he unlocked on the 12th floor. He found the monsters that attacked the shelter that day, but they were no match for him now, as he destroyed them easily. And there were so many monsters that his senses began to go numb. The 13th floor has 4,000 monsters. The 14th floor has 16,000. The 21st floor has more than 1,000,000 and so on, and he's just going through each floor at top speed. When he reached the 30th floor, the number of monsters had reached 500 million. Finding the keys was like looking for a needle in a haystack, but with pure dedication and destroying every monster, he achieved it. Some of the monsters that had the keys were protected by groups of other monsters, while others hid in small caverns. But the most irritating thing of all was that the time needed to kill each enemy began to weigh on him, as we see him jumping, fighting a bully, and then a giant demonic footless monster. He continued his conquest of every floor, leaving nothing behind, because he needed to move on. When you enter the next layer, you are already on the 4th floor. And the number of monsters on that floor was over 2 billion, which I would have to check. Sora starts laughing like a maniac and says that this is really crazy. Now they are on a completely new floor, with dragons flying above. He wonders what year they're in, but says the concept of time doesn't matter to him anymore. For there is only death and slaughter here, and he is the only thing that will remain as he marks the monsters he has killed on the walls. He hears footsteps and turns around, seeing monsters approaching, and says the cycle never ends. The monsters try to kill him, but they are slaughtered, and he cleans the floor one by one, slowly, but with certainty, advancing deeper and deeper into the abyss. When carrying a monster's head by the spine, he wonders how many monsters he has killed already, but decides that he will keep dialing, saying that it is time to find the key. His new blackboard is destroyed, with shards flying everywhere, which surprises him. Because a giant 100 feet of hell appears right in front of him, Sora says that that was a respectable entrance, and wonders if maybe that's the key, while the creature starts attacking him. He jumps off the ground, breaking the sound barrier several times, and says that no matter how loud it is, everything doesn't matter. Same way now. As he effortlessly tears her apart, he says that even monsters who think they are strong die in one blow, and that he doesn't even need to put in the slightest effort to kill them. That too has already lost all meaning. Like time, power is no longer important to him. The monsters did not climb at the same pace as him, and he starts to get irritated, asking where the hell is the key to the 42nd floor, demanding that he show up at once and fight with him, because he has had enough. There is still the question of how many billions of monsters he has already killed. Then we have a summary of how 20 towers suddenly appeared all over the world, and, before humanity could understand what was happening, the monsters began to come out of them, and almost destroyed everything. Most of the people were massacred, and that day became known as the Day of Judgment. A handful of survivors woke up with access to a mysterious system that granted them combat statistics. Those who woke up gained overwhelming power. Human society was rebuilt, and the awakened founded hunter guilds. After that, we don't see what happens, because Sora is chasing a wolf, and tells him to wait, because he wants to see what he's carrying. He is surprised to see chains wrapping around the wolf, and hears someone say that he just used an advanced transfer scroll, and they can't allow that summoning to complete. Sora recognizes that it is a human voice, and sees the wolf floating towards a magic circle in the sky. Sora wonders if that's a way out, and thinks that, if it is, that's his only chance to get out. He crouches down, and jumps straight at the wolf. A warning appears saying that Absol summons cannot transfer more than 2 living beings. This is repeated several times, and Sora says he won't let anyone stop him, and points at the wolf, advancing back towards the earth. Now in a cemetery, we see a panicked girl running. Why the hell is she wearing heels? She says she needs to throw them off fast, and we are introduced to Yusonosaki. His foot gets caught in a vine, and he starts to fall on his face to the ground, letting out a scream. Again, why the hell is she wearing heels? She says that this is bad, and starts sweating nervously, while another person says that this is a nuisance. They order her to hand over the advanced transfer scroll at once, while they surround her. The druid is called Aika, level 34, and the magician says that a level 60 scroll is not something that someone of level 19, like her, can use. The swordsman Shu Hisido, level 35, tells him to hand him over or he will show no mercy. Aika asks him not to kill her, and then Onosaki responds that combat between hunters is forbidden, and that they are breaking the rules. The level 38 barbarian, named Soseido Sida, asks what those rules are, and I licked his lips, saying that he is the one who puts the rules there, and sticks his sword into the ground, right in front of his face. He says to hand over the scroll, and maybe let him keep all the members of the body. She says that they shouldn't corner her anymore, and Aika realizes that she is going to use the summoning scroll, asking to be stopped. Soseido Sida starts to get irritated. He calls her a bitch, and throws his sword at her, telling her to hand over the scroll. But the sword only hits the ground, as she is teleported from there. Then Onosaki says that, if she is going to die, she will take everyone with her, and starts activating the scroll. They say it's a forced invocation. Aika remarks that no one can control an advanced monster summoned that way, and that they are lost. So they all run around trying to stop her. Sonosaki says that everyone will die with her as lightning starts to form in the sky, spinning and hitting the ground right in front of her, opening the summoning rift. Everyone starts sweating nervously, saying that it doesn't seem good to them at all. As the ray of light becomes brighter, chains of the abyss begin to emerge from the ground, and say that it has finally appeared. Seeing that he is only a level 3 Cerberus, they start laughing, saying that they were afraid of that, and throw him a bone, calling him adorable. Sonosaki wonders why only that came out of the summoning scroll, until a hand pierces the creature and Sora appears, ripping the monster in half and throwing it away. They panic, saying it's a humanoid monster. Sonosaki also looks up, scared, and Sora says that she finally managed to get out. He starts laughing, saying that he can't believe that he really escaped from that place. He keeps laughing while everyone is watching him. Soseido Sida says that just by hearing her laugh, his whole body became paralyzed. Aika also asks who the hell he is, because the pressure he exudes is absurd. He misses the note and approaches at an absurd speed, leaving residual images of himself. He smiles looking at her, grabs her shoulders, and asks if that place is the earth. She replies yes, and he says he's finally back. Then, he asks if everyone there are cosplayers or something, and they, for some reason, run to attack him, saying not to underestimate the Tiger Roar Guild. The swords of Choji Sido and the other Soseido Sida break when they touch Sora's back. He turns around irritated, and Soseido Sida calls him a monster. Sora stares at him. The word monster resonates in his head, and he begins to see it as something different. He grabs Soseido Sida by the neck and asks him to show his number. Soseido Sida asks what he is talking about, and then Sora comes out of the trance, realizes that he was wrong, and lets him go. Soseido Sida starts screaming, and even pees out of fear. The others run to him, and we discover that Soseido Sida is his boss. Sora tells everyone to disappear, and even another dishonest one who was there does nothing, just leaves. Soseido Sida drops the cliché phrase of a failed villain. I'll remember this. Sonosaki says that his power is amazing, but that his scars are horrible, and wonders who he is, saying that it can't be an invocation of life. Pour it through the parchment. Sora asks how many years ago the towers appeared, distressed. She replies that it's been 5 years. He asks if that place is really the earth and what scroll she used. He also asks why she is dressed strangely. She begins to explain that, since the tower appeared, a system appeared for humans, and that they are now at that point. Sora asks if the world changed so much in those 5 years that he was trapped in the abyss. She tells that the city was overtaken by the 7th Great Invasion and that she fled from there. Sora says he was born there and asks what is the current situation of the city. She says that it was completely destroyed, but that strong people were sent and should be able to defeat the monsters. Sora asks how to get there from where they are. She points to the address and the part immediately. She is surprised that he went alone. He says that he is really a mysterious man, and that he needs to tell his sister. He bets that she is one of the strongest guild masters. Then the scene switches to the group of failed villains, and something lands right in front of them, breaking the ground. They ask who he is. They say that they can feel his presence in everyone there and that they will only give 3 seconds to know where he is. Everyone starts to get terrified, but for some reason, Choji Sito asks if it's a joke. The guy seems to have no brain. Then they are all trashed in seconds, and the scene cuts to their guild headquarters. A woman says there are no signs of life from the group of 4, and the whereabouts of Soso no Saki and the scroll are unknown. A man calls her trash and breaks her wine glass. She says she can't believe that the men she recommended failed to beat a level 19 summoner, and that all the signs disappeared at the same time. He says he can't believe they were all killed with a single blow. He is level 118, and his name is Mukeli. He orders them to find out who did that, and capture Soso no Saki to give explanations. They answer, yes sir. And Mukeli says he will kill anyone who lays hands on his men. Then he sees Sora jumping out of the window. He says the smell of blood is amazing. He asks who that was and notices that he is heading towards an area in collapse. He says that this invasion is of another scale, and that there is no doubt that great forces are at stake, and that the tower that was dormant for 5 years is finally moving. Then order all the search teams to stand down, as it's an emergency. Sora keeps heading towards the city, until he finally reaches it, seeing everything in ruins. He says that, in the 5 years he was trapped in the abyss, that place turned into hell. But in the abyss, he who was weak, and could barely deal with a goblin, was getting stronger and stronger as he climbed each floor. His senses went numb, and he almost turned into a beast. He ate the monsters he killed, but the thought of his family held him firm. The monsters that used to scare him are now weak, and he hopes that at least his family is safe. He says that the city of C used to be full of life, and now it is a desert. All the buildings are destroyed as if they had gone through a terror. Remote, but they're still standing, which is strange. There is no sign of monsters killing someone. He says that, since people were evacuated, no one should be living there. He takes the doorknob of his house, rips it completely off the hinges, and is surprised. Then he slowly enters his home. He says he knew the place would be empty, but he came anyway. After all, that place is full of happy memories for him. Then he sees a card on the table and asks, "What is that?" It's from his father, saying that everyone says that Sora is dead, but he and his mother refuse to believe it. They took his things and arranged them exactly as they were in the old room, and are sure that he will return. Sora starts crying male tears, and says that they risked their lives to come back for him. They even separated her favorite clothes of different sizes so that when she came back she could dress up in something new. In the closet there is a map to the shelter. When he read the letter, he should go to find them, because they would always be waiting for him, with love, Mom and Dad. She cries while holding her family photos and wonders how strong she is now. He then starts cutting his hair, saying that if he is strong enough to end the apocalypse, maybe he can make up for the days he lost. Then he took a knife and cut his hair, looking like the protagonist of another manhua. He says he will follow the map to Shelter 6, as indicated, but the road is completely destroyed. Still, following his own path will be faster, as he begins to fly through the air. A flying monster sees him, and tries to attack him, but he splits it in two. Then he continues jumping from monster to monster, cleaning the sky as he goes. Some people nearby ask what that noise was, and another guy says that he is just drunk, and that standing guard is boring. Then they feel something flying past them, and they ask what was that. One says he failed to see, and another says he recorded, and got an image of Sora flying through the air. Then they hear a woman screaming, telling no one to come closer, that she just came to get food. When she starts to get surrounded, they say they haven't seen a woman for a long time, and one of them starts drooling. saying that they are nice guys and that they will take good care of her. She says no, and they come up spreading their legs, telling her not to be afraid, that she will be kind. And that it would be a waste not to take advantage of a body like hers, while she starts grabbing her breast. Sora says some things never change and calls them trash. They ask who is there, saying that he will not get out unharmed if he gets in, and order the men to catch him. As they begin to move forward, Sora releases an absurd wind pressure. He enters the fight by slapping one so hard that it probably kills him. When another one comes with a sword, Sora dodges with the slightest movement and grabs his arm. Then he takes a knee right in the face. The wretch asks who he is, saying that he is part of the Tiger's Roar Guild. Of course I do. Sora then calls Kagaba Eiji. He asks her if she has already forgotten the face of the guy she killed. Kagaba Eiji says that it is not possible and starts crawling, saying that it is impossible. When Sora starts releasing an absurd pressure, Kagaba Eiji asks how he is alive, telling him to stay away. Sora laughs and grabs him by the neck, saying that's right, he dragged his body out of hell because of him, and now it's his turn to go there. As he starts burying his fingers in his throat, Sora says he will tear off every bit of dignity he has left, that is his power now. He hears several voices in his head, telling him that he needs to kill, that because he is the strongest, everything should be submitted to his will. Sora says that all Kagaba Eiji did was torment. In the past, all he felt was humiliation and helplessness, and today he is going to give all that back. He remembers when he asked why Kagaba Eiji bullied him, and he said that because crushing him felt too good. Sora then comes out of his rage and releases him. Kagaba Eiji starts coughing, holding his throat. Sora says that he can't become someone like him, but that if he leaves him alive, he knows how bad it will be. Because he almost caught that woman and more people would die. She says she tried to kill him, and failed, so she's not going to kill him, but she can't let him walk away either. Kagaba Eiji asks what he is going to do. Sora says that for the 2 years he made her life hell at school, he's going to take a hit. For constantly terrorizing the weak, another. For trying to kill him by pushing him out of the truck, that'll be the second one. If he can take 4 hits, they'll be even. Kagaba Eiji apologizes, saying that everything is his fault, and that if Sora hits him with the force he has now, he will probably die with the first hit. Sora picks him up, saying not to worry, prepares his fist, and hits him squarely in the face, saying it will go smooth. Then comes the second blow, and we see his 2 allies getting up now. The floor is covered in blood, as Sora delivers the third blow, and tells him to get up because it's time for the last one. Kagaba Eiji begs to kill him at once, his eyes are totally shattered. Sora gives him a direct kick to the head, throwing him to the ground. The guy's eyes literally exploded. Sora says he did even more than that, because he amputated all 4 of his limbs, and left him completely blind. And that's enough already. He orders his friends to take him to the hospital. And may they never appear in front of him again. As he jumps in, he says that the cleaning is done, and it's time to move on, because he still needs to get to Shelter 6. In another place, in the containment zone of the City S, we see some guards saying that they will be on duty at the wall. They comment that, at least there, they do not need fighting monsters. Another says to stop being cowards. If monsters appear, they cannot panic or fall. They need to be alert because there is no telling when one may appear. They introduced the first lieutenant named Tanji, a level 31 commander. One of the soldiers, Soki, says that's the area, containment zone, and that monsters almost never appear out there, flags raised. And he is a level 22 warrior. He says that everything will be fine as long as they are attentive, only to die immediately after. A monster appears in the next panel. His name is Son of the Kraken, and he is a shell-type monster of level 45. They start to position themselves, firing at the shells, but the bullets bounce off. The monster becomes enraged, and they realize that the weapons are not working due to the huge difference in level. They prepare for the attack, and Tanji says that everyone should disperse. The first type is split in half with a single blow. His friend sees the body flying through the air, gets angry, and starts cursing the monster while holding explosives. He runs saying that he is going to shoot it down, while the others provide covering fire, making the monster turn. Now he's right under the monster with the explosive. The monster raises its tentacles to attack, but stops just before hitting them, and they wonder what's going on. When the monster starts to look scared, they wonder if he is really scared, or if there is something more. The monster then completely covers his eye and adopts a defensive posture. The guy says that he does not know what he is afraid of, but that this is the opportunity to avenge his friends. He throws the explosive directly at the monster, screaming for it to die, and the explosive explodes engulfed in flames. They wonder if he was killed, but realize that they caused minimal damage. The monster looks directly at them, practically unharmed, and launches into the attack, but Sora lands, crushing him with the impact, and saving the soldier. The soldier is confused, and Tenji asks if that is the reason for the monster's fear, if it was all because of that man. Tenji says that he killed a monster that survived an explosion with a single blow, and that there aren't many with that kind of S-class destructive power, but he's never seen him before. So he needs to find out who he is, no matter what it takes. He uses his special ability, called Inspect, which allows him to see detailed information about the target. The closer the level is, the more you can see. Tenji then surprises himself by saying it can't be, because the only thing that appears is that he must show respect in the system. Alert! Tenji is amazed, and starts to get dizzy. As he faints, the soldiers hold him down, asking what is happening, and call a doctor. Sora, confused, says there is something he wants to ask. The soldier asks what it is, and Sora asks how far away the evacuation shelter 6 is. The man says that he is 50 kilometers to the north, but that he will have to cross Area 10 to get there. Sora asks what Area 10 is, and the soldier replies that it is where they are containing the onslaught of monsters. The monsters are being concentrated there to minimize the damage, and there are many hunters fighting them. The soldiers comment that there are many rare items as a reward, and when Sora turns around, he wonders if it is really possible to get items by defeating monsters in the real world, saying that it really looks like a game. Ask how strong the monster seemed to them, and they say that a level 45 is quite a difficult opponent. Sora asks if that would really be enough to cause so many problems, and how many monsters above level 45 exist in the onslaught. The man says that probably no more than 100, and that if there were many monsters like that out there, humanity would be extinct by now. Sora says he understood, and will be leaving shortly. The man gets nervous and calls him, saying that maybe it's an absurd request, but that he would like Sora to go to Area 10. Because if there's a strong hunter like him there, many people can be saved. Sora asks if the shortest route to the shelter goes through Area 10, and the man confirms. Sora says that in that case he will pass by and that he will defeat any monster that has the bad luck to cross his path. The scene changes some time later, with a tent, and Tenji lying down, starting to wake up. The soldiers are relieved to see him react, and Tenji asks how long he was unconscious. The man says it was about 10 minutes, and the recovery items left by the monsters worked immediately. Tenji asks about the man who saved him, and the soldier reports that he left for the north. Tenji is still trying to recover from the headache when he realizes what has been said. The soldier says that he is on his way to evacuation shelter 6. Tenji asks if that means it will pass through Area X. The soldier says that it seemed that he did not care at all, he left without hesitation. Tenji says they need to contact Central Command immediately. The soldier asks if he is sure. Tenji looks at the clock, and says that it is about 10 minutes to the set time, and that he must make it. A man comes in saying he sent a message on the emergency radio. He repeats that he sent the message, but wonders why the Central Command. Tenji says that this operation is different from the others. That information is highly confidential, that's why they were not informed. And that the Area 10 serves as the basis for that operation. It is not part of the region where the monsters are contained. Actually, it's a bombing zone. Then we see the command center with a guy with a prominent belly. A woman says an emergency call came in from the B-22 area. The central commander asks to be put on the line, and we are introduced to Kumageya Renji, who is a level 58 fire mage. The woman confirms and starts typing. Tenji then reports back, saying that he needs to alert them. He says that a mystery hunter has just headed to the bombing zone, and that he is not aware of the operation. Renji asks why that's important, wanting to know if he's there to admit a mistake. Tenji says it's not that. He believes that an emergency broadcast warning about the bombings is mandatory. Renji tries to reprimand him, but Tenji decides to get straight to the point, saying that the man is very strong, and they can't let him die like that. Renji asks if he is a strong hunter and wants to know what his level is. Angie, in a panic, says she doesn't know. Renji says that a hunter whose level is unknown disobeyed the rules and entered a zone of bombing, and wants him to do an emergency broadcast for him. The woman says he will probably be dead before the message is even sent. Renji starts laughing, and says that although she may not have a brain, she certainly has a talent for comedy. And it seems that they have not been trained enough to stand on their own. He leans towards a blonde woman, and says that it is not his role to interfere with her subordinates. But if she informs the superiors that she is obstructing the progress of the operation, she will be held accountable. She asks if she is really going to harm her own companions when they are facing such a possible enemy. Powerful? We are introduced to a woman who is the commander of the West, named Tanosaki Nai, and she is a level 73 golem tamer. He calls Renji an idiot, saying that Tanji, whom he trained so carefully, is trying to save a complete stranger. So that must be important. He wonders how powerful that guy is. Tanji looks anxious as Mia starts to think. She calls Tanji, and says that she trusts him, that she does not intend to interfere in his plans. But if he cannot give a convincing reason, she will personally take him to a military court. Tanji panics with her answer, and she goes on to say that that would be satisfying for Renji as well. Renji clicks his tongue, and tells Tanji to give a reason that they can accept. Tanji says that the person defeated a level 45 baby kraken with a single punch. Nai is surprised, and says that he is even stronger than an A-level hunter, asking if he could be an army S-level hunter. Renji says that's impossible. All the S-level hunters are on missions, and there are no confirmed signals coming from B-22. She asks why she doesn't know his level, saying she should be able to see him with her inspection skill. He says he couldn't see his level with the skill. That hits her hard. He says, embarrassed, that after using his skill, he lost consciousness due to information overload. Which means that he is at least above level 100. Renji starts to get more serious and reflects on the situation. He taps his fingers anxiously, saying that kind of force is rare, but it is not a sufficient reason to stop the operation. The commander of the East, named Yuasenobu, says they cannot abandon their military responsibilities for such uncertain reasons. He is a level 44 rock tamer, I forgot to mention earlier. Yoshinobu goes on to say that thousands of troops from 4 different corps are involved in the operation. And there are enough troops to completely surround the bombing and containment zone. The original plan was that, after the bombardment, the scattered monsters would be eliminated by the soldiers stationed in the garrison area. But if an emergency transmission is made, the monsters will react to the sound and run all to the same place. If that happens, the area will fall in an instant, and tens of thousands of soldiers will lose their lives. And saving a single man in exchange for that makes no sense. Even if he was an S-level hunter, it would be a risk they can't afford, and he apologizes. Tanji just looks devastated, because technically it's all his fault. While Mia is sitting thinking about something, she says that, being that way, she has to refuse his request. That she can't waste the efforts of so many people because of one man, and that the decision is final. When the call is cut off, he looks at the cell phone, checks again, and is completely shocked. Then he squeezes the phone tightly, frustrated with himself. His men say he did his best, and he lets out a big sigh, saying that what matters is the greater good. The soldier looks down, sees his keys, and takes them off his belt. Tanji asks what he is doing. When the man runs to the car, Tanji tells him to get back before the bombs start. The man says it's still 6 minutes away, and he made them. Honestly, I thought he was already dead, but he's actually a determined guy. He goes out at full speed, driving straight towards Sora. Angel's other men ask if they should bring him back, but he says that he is fine, that he has already made his decision, and knows what he is doing. Soki says he needs to be on time, and we see him anxious. What he didn't know at the time was that the man he was trying to save would become the hope of all mankind. But we did know, because he is our protagonist. Soki says he lost his trail, and wonders where he went, and takes the fastest way. If you have not found it yet, it means that it is moving faster than the vehicle. He's almost in Area 10, and if he uses the speaker, maybe I can hear him. But doing that will also attract monsters. Now he has just over 2 minutes left. He decides to move on, and extends his hand towards the speaker. He takes a deep breath, and hesitates as he keeps driving. He tells himself that he is a disgrace to the army, and then he decides to do it. He screams, saying that he is the soldier that Sora helped earlier, and that that area is about to be bombed. So he must evacuate immediately. And he starts repeating it several times. Sora hears him, and when we see him, he has just finished a fight. He says that explains why there aren't many hunters around. He looks at his hands, and says that the monsters themselves are not a big threat. But he does not know if he could survive the heat of the explosion, so he must avoid unnecessary risks. And that soldier risked his life to go there just to warn him about the bombing. You can't let him die there. Soki wonders if she managed to catch up with him or not, and with 30 seconds left for the bomb, we see dragons flying overhead. They land directly in front of Soki, and he says that he really attracted them to himself, and that he needs to get out immediately. Because they definitely knew that they were doing reconnaissance of the area with drones. Noble also panics and says that they must evacuate all the soldiers from the garrison area. Nai agrees, saying that they need to completely retreat and protect the walls, but the woman says that they are not going towards the walls. And everyone gets even more confused, asking where they are going. Then she says that they are going towards the B-22 area, and Nai says that was where the mystery hunter went. So they should send all the remaining drones to B-22 now, and find out that it prevented the monster's advance. We see Soki getting out of the car, saying the bombing is over. He can't believe he's still alive. He starts laughing at the fact that he survived. Sora says it's too early to celebrate. If he's alive, that means the monsters are alive too. And they're coming in that direction. Then he looks at him and orders him to get down. It helps him dodge something flying by overhead. We see that it's actually the drone, and Soki wonders if the monsters attacked him, since that had never happened before. Sora tells him to save the amazement for later, as they are now completely surrounded by the monsters. Sora says they're going to run. I could probably kill them all. I wonder what he's planning. Soki looks absolutely terrified, because that giant monster with a man on his shoulder is at level 90. And there are a lot of high-level monsters around. He says that is the highest level group in this meeting. And the leader is of a high level. Still, he doesn't have a scratch caused by the bomb, so it's over for them, and they're all going to die there. Sora says they didn't suffer anything from the bomb either, but that's not going to stop him from beating them to death. He jumps forward, saying that Soki should hide in the jeep. Meanwhile, start killing the monsters quickly, one after another, going straight to the boss. The boss then starts swinging his weapon at Sora, a huge mass that he holds with one hand. He seems disinterested, but the boss is shocked to see his gun ripped off and thrown to the ground by Sora. Then jump into the air and fly straight to the boss. He prepares his fist and throws a very strong blow, hitting directly at the head and completely tearing it off. She is now standing on the opposite shoulder from the man. She looks at him and they both face each other. Sora says he couldn't feel her presence at all. The guy says he finally made it. We see that it has strange tentacles coming out of the body that begin to heal the monster. The man says he found it and calls it the seed of the abyss. As the monster's head regenerates, he smiles at Sora. The man says that he is a thief, and that he should return what belongs to him. Sora asks what he is talking about. The man replies that, for the crime of taking power from another, there is only one way to pay with one's life. He begins to summon several shadow daggers that fly in Sora's direction, but they fail to pierce him, and he takes one to inspect it. He asks if that's all he has, and that, if so, he won't be able to kill him. The boss then starts attacking him, and a drone is flying over, observing everything. The man in the cloak senses this and looks up, asking if Odin's body is watching, but he says that it is an imitation made by humans. I already suspected that the old man was Odin. I think that confirms it. Sora tells the man that if he really wants to kill him, he will have to come more seriously, and lunges straight at where the man was. But only hits the boss. The man has completely disappeared and Sora is surprised by it. The subject says that it is repulsive to be watched by vile humans, and that those low-level creations should know what is his place, for they are making him nauseous. He extends his hand forward, and some monsters immediately start destroying the drones. The man then orders the rest to eliminate as many observers as they can. At a nearby apartment complex, a man says his drone was destroyed, but he managed to complete the mission. The reason the monsters changed direction was because of that guy. He is the hunter who faced the offensive alone, and needs to inform the commander about it. He hears very loud noises coming from the hallway as a monster breaks down the wall, extending its tentacles towards him. Then the man's screams are heard in the distance, and the man in the cloak laughs, saying that his servants must kill them all. Sora looks at the man and remembers Soi saying that, if there was a strong hunter like him, many people could be saved. And how he came all this way to rescue him, even without having any reason. Something in the car is stuck and can't start the engine. Sora grits his teeth saying that, to hunt down an enemy, you have to start with the leader, and jumps straight to the man in the cloak. Saying that, if he wants to save as many people as possible, he needs to eliminate his enemies as quickly as possible. The boss then realizes that this is the opportunity to attack. By raising his arm and throwing a punch, Sora dodges, saying that by merging with the man, The monster's attack power increased significantly. Then she sees the man coming out of the shadows and says he's quite persistent. Sora observes him better and is surprised because they are identical, as if he were the same. The man in the cloak then begins to form a shadowy sword, and Sora says that this sword is dangerous, and that it can be felt by the energy. Once again, the man calls him the seed of the abyss, saying that he is going to kill him. Then he advances with the sword, saying that this is his destiny. Sora retracts his fist and attacks, striking the man's arm, and causing him to drop the sword. He holds her and lifts her over his head. The man in the cloak is taken by surprise, and Sora attacks, but the blow is blocked. Sora says he can't believe that the attack has also been quashed, and wonders if it was just his imagination. He says that this burst of energy is almost identical to the power he felt in the abyss. The man asks if sealing someone else's gun is all he knows how to do, and grits his teeth, frustrated. The man then moves his hand, and the gun disappears from Sora's hands. He says that this is the power of the abyss, and that there are still many uses around the world, for which they have not been discovered, and that this quarrel is sure to drag on. And first of all, you need to get that soldier to a safe place. He asks Soki if she's okay with heights. He says yes, and then the car starts to be lifted into the air, while Sora warns that they are about to fly. The hooded man calls him a fool, saying that he should not underestimate the power of the abyss, and that the strong do not exist to protect the weak, they exist only to become the strongest. As he starts to form a giant spherical thing in the sky, he screams saying that Sora must die next to that weak human. And Sora says that the attack is really fast, and that even if he runs, he will catch up with it. In that case, he will simply face it head-on. When he jumps up from the ground towards him, he starts to prepare his fist, and advances, hitting him hard. He wonders if it worked, saying there was no real impact, and then, he sees a smaller, purer orbit, saying that must be the real body. Then he hears Soi screaming, and realizes what happened, as the car is starting to be violently manipulated by the power. Sora tells him to get out of the car, and Soki tells the power not to come any closer. The hooded man tells her not to be afraid, calling him a pitiful lamb, and Sora watches. When the car is completely pierced by the power, Sora goes to check if he is okay, and the hooded man asks if he is angry, telling him not to get so excited. Sora starts to break the tips of the thorns, and the hooded man tells him to look, that he's not dead yet, and tells him to see how he's still smiling because he's using necromancy. Soki's corpse starts laughing, and the hooded man says that seeing everyone he loves die in front of his eyes, that's fate. That is the seed of the abyss. Sora just looks at him, irritated, and asks if he also feels pleasure in trampling on someone else's dignity. The hooded man keeps laughing, and starts forming something in his hands before shooting it, saying there's no need to state the obvious, and he calls that obsidian storm. Meanwhile, he starts flying in the direction of Sora, who doesn't even try to dodge, letting the attack cut him into pieces. He asks if that is really true. Then he jumps out of the thorn he was on, destroying it, and says that garbage like him disgusts him. As he prepares his fist, he delivers a devastating blow, breaking the thorns, and destroying everything in his path. He clenches his teeth as he flies, and grabs Sock's body. Soki then starts smiling at him with red eyes and starts hitting him in the face. Sora looks at him, apologizing, saying he's sad that he got involved in this and locks him in the car. Then he turns back to the hooded man, and immediately launches into the attack. The hooded man says that it is useless because the attack is cancelled. He says that he is nothing but a rookie who can't even handle the power of the abyss, and that he has no chance of defeating it. But he says that as he takes a direct punch to the face, and we see blood coming out of his mouth as he is thrown to the side. Sora says that the one who won't have a chance is him, and it looks like he's wiping his fist. I'm not sure. Then the giant boss appears to protect the man, who still says that that is impossible, wondering how he managed to harm him. Sora says that people evolve, calling him an idiot. The hooded man realizes that he is in trouble and climbs back on top of his bodyguard, as Sora flies towards him. The hooded man says that just by watching his movement, he has already learned to control the power of the abyss. He asks if that makes any sense, but he doesn't see Sora anywhere, and asks where he is. Of course, Sora is coming from behind now. The man turns around, sees him in time, and jumps off the boss's shoulder, creating distance between the two. Saying he's tougher than he looked. Sora says that maybe he will manage to escape from him, but he wants to see the boss escape from this as he lowers the arm, cutting it in half. The attack even destroys the building behind. The boss begins to regenerate, using the powers of the abyss. Sora says that he now recognizes that technique, and that he is going to target the core of the real body. As he begins to grasp the aura of the abyss, with his bare hands, he begins to tear her apart, saying to be crushed. The boss says it's impossible, as his core starts to get damaged, and Sora descends from the sky. The sun starts to shine brightly, and we see the boss start to burn little by little, disintegrating in the air, until disappearing. He was defeated. Sora then confronts the hooded man, saying that he is next. The hooded man says he's going to remember that as he starts preparing an attack, calling it Dark Unity. All the monsters around happen to be controlled, turning directly to Sora, screaming as they start to surround him. Sora is still looking for an opportunity to attack the hooded man, but the power he exudes keeps him away. But then he is surprised, because immediately the pressure disappears, and the man has disappeared. He asks if he really used a technique like that just to run away. Then, he complains that his clothes were ruined, which irritates him, and he is glad that the photo of his mother and father is still intact. He walks up to Soki's corpse, saying that that guy probably has a family waiting for him too. He rips the nameplate off his neck and starts to bury him with his own hands, saying that at least he will take that with him. There's no way that was the last time he found the other man from the abyss, and absorbed a lot of his attacks. But the idea of him saying that everyone he loves is going to die really angers him, and he can't go to the evacuation shelter first, because he refuses to let his family be murdered. He starts running, saying he needs to get there as fast as possible, and he is so fast that he breaks the sound barrier. But one of the drones is still intact, lying on the ground. Then it starts floating in the air, and Nai tells everyone that they need to investigate the area carefully, and make sure not to miss anything. While they start exploring the ruins, one of her men mentions the monsters, but she interrupts him, because she already knows, she can see in front of her, that all the monsters have already been defeated. She orders to check the data of the drone, and report any information. He says that there are clear signs of a battle, and that the powerful hunter that Lieutenant mentioned not only survived the bombing, but also eliminated the entire horde of monsters. One of his men shouts for him to see something, as the drone's SD card is still in good condition, and they can visualize the data. She comes over looking at the tablet, and says she can't wait to see what's on it. Go to Soki and Sora and comment. That must be the hunter that was mentioned earlier. The soldiers continue to explore the area until one of the mentors where the boss died. We see the building that was broken up, and he sees the items left behind. One of them is a special energy potion that permanently increases the magical power of the user. There is also an iron weapon inside a cube that cannot be identified. One of the other soldiers asks what he found, and he immediately hides it, saying it's nothing. They tell him not to lie, while he jumps down. He asks if that was left by the head of the assault, as they seem like rare items. And taking what was obtained by the unit for himself is a crime, saying that for sure he knows what he has to do. The subject looks at the items, asking how they should be divided. He says all he wants is the bucket. The other says that in no way such a box blindly contains a legendary item. The man grabs her shoulders, telling her not to misunderstand him, because she has no choice. He takes the box, while the other one walks away laughing, saying that he finally got a golden relic. The scene shifts to Evacuation Shelter 6. Sora lands on a nearby roof, saying that he has finally arrived. He sees guards still on duty and comments that it seems that they have not been attacked yet, because there are people everywhere. While Sora is walking, some people seem confused by something, and everyone starts watching him, without being able to help it. Sora says he doesn't feel the hooded man's presence nearby. In reality, he does not feel the presence of anyone strong. But if there is no one strong there, the place will be destroyed sooner or later. He stops in front of a blindfolded man, and wonders if he is blind. The guy says that he has very dense blood, and that it must have come from outside. Sora confirms. The man laughs, saying that this is a relief, and that he can be calm, because he has no bad intentions. He only wants to buy information about the outside world, and that would mean a lot to him, if Sora knows what he wants. Sora wonders if that's the bargaining chip being used there, saying that, if it's something he knows about, he'll do it. The guy says he's glad to hear that, but Sora says he wants to ask something first. He asks him why a monk calls him excellence, which means it must be false. The guy laughs, saying that he saw through it, and that those clothes are just a hobby. Sora asks if that means he's not really blind. The man laughs, and Sora comments that this guy is problematic. The man says that he contracted an eye disease recently, and begins to remove the bandage. Sora comments that he can tell, even with his eyes covered, that there is a terrifying light there, and that he must have some reason to hide his power. There seems to be a wolf in sheep's clothing hiding in the shelter. He asks Sora what he would like to know. The monk says that it is finally his turn to ask, and that he would like to know what is going on outside. Sora says that they have gathered armed soldiers on the walls, and they must be preparing for war. He is sure that the general public has not noticed it, but he heard explosions, and asks if he knows what happened. Sora thinks a little and says that, to be honest, he's not really sure. He was doing some work outside when he heard an explosion coming from the southwest, and got so scared that he dropped his letter, and had to use his shirt as a map. The guy asks if it's true, and enters the game saying that he is also hiding his power. He thanks her saying that it was a great help. Sora replies that it was nothing, but he can hardly believe that the man is going to continue in such a vague direction alone. He wonders how many fighters of his level there are out there, because he doesn't want to attract attention. Besides, they're letting someone as suspicious as him walk free. Perhaps humanity's guard is down because everyone is facing the same enemy. He goes to a department store, but is told to come back later. He comments that he bought new clothes with what the monk gave him, and that now it's time to finally find his parents. When he starts looking for them, he says that he will do it the traditional way and gives a pat on the shoulder of a beautiful girl, asking him if he recognizes the couple. In the photo, she looks surprised and immediately walks away in panic, saying that she does not know them. He comments that his reaction was as if he had seen a ghost and wonders if everyone there is nervous. He sees a guy yelling at people in the street, and he says he's going to ask him. The guy calls Sora, and Sora asks if there is any problem, looking at him angrily. The man says it looks like he's not from there and he can't believe he's flirting with people with a picture in the middle of the night, asking what era he thinks he's in. Sora shows the photo, asking if the man knows who they are. The guy says he can't believe she's trying to flirt with him too, and then asks why she has a picture of them. Sora asks if he knows these people, and the subject asks what is his relationship with them. Sora informs that they are his parents. The man looks at Sora, and then the photo from when he was a child, asking if it really is the same person, and if he is there to make fun of him. Then a car accelerates in his direction, with the driver in a panic. The truck crashes into Sora, but of course, it doesn't even make him move. The man is surprised to see that Sora is completely unharmed. Sora orders the man to repeat what he just said, scaring him. The man says that he must be really wanting to find his parents, and that if he goes straight down the road, he will find their house. Sora thanks and starts walking down the street. The man tells her to take care of herself, says hello, and then runs out saying, "This is bad," because he needs to gather everyone. Sora can't believe that a random guy is know where your family lives. He comments that, come to think of it, his father was kind to anyone he met, and so was his mother. Good people like them end up being taken advantage of in this world, but that's okay. Now that he is there, he continues to the end of the road saying, "This must be the place, but it is really great." He wonders if they really live there. He says that, with so many people missing, there must be a lot of empty houses. He knocks on the door, and hears his father's voice, asking if they have finished the day's work yet. His father then opens the door, welcomes them, and sees Sora, but Sora is left confused. Well, he sees his father in butler's clothes asking who the hell he is. Sora says it's him, and his father is confused until Sora says his name, and the father starts to show that he doesn't believe it. We see the two of them sitting together at the table, and their mother comes in apologizing for making them wait so long. Ask if they haven't said a word to each other yet. Them, and the father says he can hardly believe it, because he is a completely different person from the Sora they knew. And at this point, there's only one thing to do. Sora seems nervous and asks what it is, and his father says that it is an exchange of secrets between father and son. He does not want to expose himself to the wife, but if Sora does not give answers, he will not get out unscathed. And if he says something minimally suspicious, then it should be dealt with properly. While looking at the ceiling, we see a man saying that he understood. Sora also notices the bully saying that he is still very cautious, but with such tight security, he can relax. Her father asks if he's ready, and Sora says the bully should be careful because he's going to hear things he shouldn't. Sora says that every weekend she took cooking classes with the housewives support group. Her father is surprised and asks how she knows that. The bully doesn't think he would do such a thing. Sora continues. Besides, she ran away every week to take ballet classes. The bully can't imagine that either. His father starts staring at the bully. The bully realizes that he is in a bad situation. The atmosphere becomes uncomfortable, and his father says it may be true, but you don't have to be his son to find that out. Sora says he can tell something about his family. Her father asks if he really knows, and Sora says of course, and not to say that he was not warned. His father, sweating cold, tells him to continue, and Sora points to the sword, saying that they are just replicas. The bully wonders what he means, and his father tells him not to be real. Ridiculous, asking if he at least has proof. Sora says yes, as he walks towards her saying that the handle has bite marks from the brother. The thug thought that this came from the time when the head of the family had his hands tied and bit the leaf, killing 38 people. Sora starts to unsheath her, and the bully says that she talks a lot, but the real goal is to surprise the head of the family and eliminate him. Sora begins to touch the edge of the blade in the palm of his hand and disassemble it, saying that it is retractable. His father calls him an idiot and gives him a big hug, saying he thought he was dead. Then she begins to cry, saying that she can't believe that her son has finally returned, and that if only she knew what they went through. His father says that they searched every milestone in search of information about him, and when he saw it, he had already become a boss. And now that same boss is crying like a child, and that this is really pathetic. Sora then asks to take the guy off the roof, and the bully is shocked, saying that the head of the family lived all his life under a rain of blood, and he never witnessed such a thing. He can't believe he saw the head of the family, who values honor above all else, in that state, and that he needs to get out of there before he gets killed. Sora breaks the ceiling, grabbing his leg, and the bully tells him to wait. But Sora says that his father wants to talk to him. Sitting down now, very embarrassed, Sora's father tells the guard he discovers his name is Okal, who has the loose tongue of all the guards. Sora alerts him that, if this leaks, things get. He and Sora's father agree while laughing. Oshal promises that he will not say a word, and they begin to watch. Oshal says there is no doubt, they are definitely father and son. His mother tells them not to threaten him, and Oshal makes a little begging dog face, looking very happy. But she also alerts him of not saying a word, and he replies clearly, lowering his head. Sora's father says he's relieved she didn't mention that he farts or snores in his sleep, and she asks why he touched on that topic. Then Sora says that it's just like the old days, and he's finally at home with the family. Once again, a knock is heard at the door. Sora turns around as a guy starts the door, calling the boss, and it's the guy who gave the directions, warning that there's a white-haired guy looking for him. So, he already sees Sora sitting there, and asks if he is the one they are talking about. The guy starts panicking, then gets out of control saying he's the same. He says he may be strong, but there are a lot of people there and we see him shaking. He then asks if Sora plans to do anything with the boss, saying that he must be from the Tiger Roars. Still shaking, Sora grabs his knees to calm him down, and then stares at him. He then tells his father to introduce him to his men. His father says that he is his son, who was missing for 5 years, and finally returned. He goes to say his level, but realizes that he has no idea what it is and starts spinning. Sora says he doesn't really have the system. They ask if he really survived in the Fallen Zone for 5 years and the system. The guy with the broccoli hair says that if he doesn't have the system, that means that no matter how hard he trains, he can't get past level 10. Some of the men say they kept calling him strong, but that he's just a beginner without the system. The guy with the broccoli hair laughs, saying I must have been wrong. But he remembers when he was hit by the truck, and he says that, if he was just a beginner, that would have hurt him. Sora thinks about this, saying to try to see their level with their own systems. The guy with the broccoli hair thinks so too. The subject is clearly not thinking about anything and says, it's true, since he doesn't have. In the system, he obviously does not know how basic information works. If you have the system, you can see the level of the monsters, but you can't see the level of other players without the inspection skill. Sora's father says that the ability to inspect is rare, few hunters possess it. The guy with the broccoli hair says that the boss has that ability, and Sora tells his father to take a look, wishing he could get some information about the abyss. A little later, we see everyone gathered to see what his level will be when his father opens the statistics. And Sora asks his mother if she wants to check. She says that more than that, she just wants to be by his side, and that she already knows. Anyway, we see Sora's father and all the men surprised, and he says that no matter how hard he tries, the result is always the same. He can't see anything about his level. The father says that there can be 2 reasons for this. Either he has no system, or his level is so high that he can't see. The men seem genuinely surprised. The father says that even when someone has no system, he can still see the person's name, but besides he survived only for 5 years. And he would be dead already if he was a beginner. so his level is simply beyond the perception of the father. And he asks her what the boy has been doing for the last 5 years. The mother says that they should be happy, that Sora is a strong boy, and must have gone through a lot to come back to them. Sora gets excited by how much his mother cares about him, and remembers the countless years he spent there. Because it was definitely more than 5. Inside, she begins to get emotional, and tells her mother that it's okay, because now she's back, and asks her to stop crying. The father also starts crying, and sends the men out to have some alone time, saying that he needs to get out of there now that they have reunited after so long. As soon as they leave, the father also leaves, closing the door and asking where the others are, because 2 hours have already passed, and they still haven't returned. Back in the room, Sora asks his mother where Rico is, and she says it can't be bad news. She replies that she is fine. He doesn't come home often because he's in the army. But now that he's back, maybe he wants her to call him, since he's been fighting on the front line all this time. Almost as if he's trying to avenge the brother. Sora says that he hasn't seen him for a long time, and asks if he has a high-ranking position. She replies that she has status, but the reason they trust her is because she is a clergyman. She is a healer with many abilities, capable of offering great support, and even prophecy. He says that, if she's a clergywoman, maybe she can see what's going on with him. She replies that she doesn't have the ability to see abilities, and then he asks how she knew he was coming back. She says that she already mentioned it, that she has the gift of prophecy, and she knew that she would definitely return one day. Sometime later, at the front door, someone knocks, and a man opens the door asking who it is. Only to see a man with an 10 on his forehead, and we find out that it is the vice head. Sora's father opens the door welcoming the man, and we discover that he is the vice president of the United Guilds. His name is Hiro Ibachima. Sora's father asks him why he has that expression, and if something has happened, as he sent someone to investigate that backstage, asking what he discovered. He says that the tiger's roar is related to the army, as he suspected. They handed over the monster's casing to the army as usual, but a man with a notebook began to interfere during the inspection. He made several excuses, and awarded only half of the points, reporting the full value to his superiors. When checking, all the discrepancy led to the roar of the tiger. Sora's father says he doesn't believe this happened. If the tiger roar, which should be neutral, is doing something like that, then there is something else behind it. But they cannot stand idly by being trampled on, as that would affect the future of the city. He tells Hiro to rest and eat well, and that he will go already directly to the tiger's roar later to sort this out with him. They have to show that the United Guild is not so naive. Sora reflects on this after hearing everything, saying that thanks to the Black Fragment, all of his abilities are in advanced mode. Not only his strength, but also his sense have sharpened, which can hear things at a great distance. It seems that the tiger's roar is everywhere. If his father is going to negotiate with him, that worries him a little. Sora opens the door, and sees his father along with Hiro, saying that he will go with him. Broccoli Head wonders if he's really planning to get involved in this mess, but maybe this is the chance to see his true powers. Hiro has no idea who he is. Asking Sora's father, he says that this is his son, who disappeared in the Fallen Zone for 5 years. Hiro asks what his level is, and Sora's father says that his son doesn't really have any system. Hiro looks surprised and asks if that means he is an ordinary person, because without the system, he would be dead in any shelter. I wouldn't last more than 3 days outside. It's not completely impossible with elite stats and exceptional survival skills, but without combat skills, he would become a dead weight at the moment there was a fight. Hiro says that's good news, but since he just returned, he must be exhausted, and should stay out of this. Asking Sora's father what he thinks, Sora's father agrees, saying that he should stay with his mother. The mother says she hasn't even shown him the house, and Sora wonders if they think he won't be useful. Imagine that it is to be expected, since for those who have a system, he looks like an ordinary human. He says that, on second thought, he still hasn't fully understood how the shelter works. If there really is a monster like he imagines, he needs to hide his true power so as not to harm his parents, and he agrees with this, which surprises Broccoli Head. Broccoli Head says that he has missed the opportunity to see his powers, and the group begins to depart. Sora watches, and his mother tells him that he should not worry so much, since his father is only worried, and that they have just met again after a long time. So, it is logical that I do not want to put him in danger. He also warns her that her father is really strong, so she will be fine, and that she always uses her vision to see the future. And that tells her that he will come out of this well too. Sora says that he is fine, but that he is no longer a child, and that it is true that his mother uses her prophecies to foresee dangers. But the tiger's roar is linked to the army. His father will only come into conflict with him more and more from now on. He asks how the situation is there in the shelter, and why the tiger roar is on bad terms with him. She says that since the day of the trial, her father woke up and joined the army to manage the shelters. After that, he created the guild union and cooperated with the army here in the hope of finding him. The union of the guilds grew so much because everyone was moved by that person's oath to reunite the families. The union of the guilds is in charge of maintaining order, collecting supplies in the field, and practically all the management. He is a kind man and, for that reason, he did not want to send his own people to the crack. That's how they managed to keep the peace for the last 4 years. But, a few months ago, the tiger roar of the evacuation shelter 4 came here to establish a branch. Since then, the conflict with them has never stopped. Sora asks why the army does not intervene, and she replies that, as the enemies keep getting stronger, the army can no longer contain them. But the tiger roar was founded to clean the towers, and their strength is so overwhelming that the army has no choice but to depend on them. The information about the classification of the towers is too valuable for the army to ignore. In addition, they have an awakened chosen by the divinity of the tower. They are called Shra, and they are your winning card. Sora asks what a tower divinity is, and she explains that they are the lords of the tower. His power is practically equivalent to that of a god for humans, and if you pass the divinity test, you become an Asura and receive divine power. They are considered God's messengers outside the towers, and also become guardians inside the tower walls. The tiger's roar currently has the largest number of them, and since each Hera possesses an absurd power, they devour all neighboring guilds in a short time. His father's guild is adored by the inhabitants, but he has never even cleaned a tower. They are the only ones in the union who still fight without a Hera. Sora says that the situation is really very bad. And if people love the union of the guilds, why do they behave like a Yakuza group? She asks what he means, saying it's just a matter of preference. She decided for Sora, who can't believe that his mother has that side. She asks what difference it makes, since everyone is happy and full of energy, and since he is tired, he should go take a nice bath. And call her if she wants him to wash her back. He replies that he will do it alone. She says he has really grown up and leaves him in his room. He begins to focus on his senses, and says that she has really left, and he had no idea that the situation was so serious. He still can't stop worrying about his father, so he jumps out of the window, and his mother watches him do this, telling him that she had asked him to rest, and that sometimes children can be a real job. We finally found out Sora's father's name, which is Akuya, and he was heading to the Tiger Roar Guild with members of his own guild. Sora was watching from above, seeing that everything except the center was completely dark, which was a good thing, since it was easier to find that way. He locates her, but begins to feel dizzy, not understanding what is happening. He says that, since he was strengthened by the fragment of the abyss, he has not even had a cold. Then he hears the man's voice, saying that he will not let him escape. Sora looks around, not knowing where the sound is coming from, and asks if he is hiding his presence, as he can't feel it in any way. This means that he was in Vault 6 after all, and then he feels dizzy again. He hears the voice saying that he will not let him escape, and that it is for his soul, because it has already been marked. Sora sees the guy, and gives him a blow behind him, where his head would be, but it's just an illusion. While the man keeps repeating the same phrase, Sora asks if that's what he means by marking his soul, while the man laughs uncontrollably. Then the searchlights focus on the ceiling, asking what Sora is doing there at that time of night, and he says that he screamed too loud, and they noticed him. Then he runs, saying that the illusion disappeared. He lands on a nearby roof, saying that she came back, and wonders if she disappeared because of the light, and decides to try. He goes down to the street, and places himself under a lamp, saying that he thinks he understood. If you stay in the dark for 7 seconds, the soul mark is activated, and you become dizzy. As he loses his composure, the dialogue changes, and he begins to imitate the man word for word. Sora has been embarrassed because a woman sees him, and says that only he can see that face. He says that when he walks under the light, a shrill sound begins to sound in his head, and after a while, the mark disappears. And he stops seeing the subject. She wonders if the reason she hadn't felt this before was thanks to the sunlight and the lights in the house. house, saying it must be that, but maybe I can locate the guy through the mark and launch a surprise attack at any moment. So he needs to stay alert and find his father. He keeps walking and asks the voice to be quiet, while people look at him with judgmental looks. As he continues down the street, a car passes by him, and he says that the subject does not appear when there is light. He remembers that his mother told him that the guild union is no longer useful for the army, and that his father could be in danger. He does not know how many strong people are in the shelter, but there is no way that an army allied to the tiger roar will stand still. And there is a big chance that they will try to destroy his father's guild, and in that case, he will protect his mother and her father, even if it means killing everyone. Then he stops to walk, wondering if they will really be able to return to the peaceful days they had before. He sees a group of people in front of him, saying that he seems to have arrived at the place, and wonders how his father will conduct the negotiations. She remembers her father telling her that, in a conflict with someone, violence should be her last resort. And those were the words her father always told her. Sora replies that he understood and wonders if he will really wait until the last moment to resort to violence, even now. Then he is surprised when the men start shouting, saying that it is starting to get out of the way so that they can see. Since the boss has long since become exalted. Last time, he left a scar of almost 20 meters on his opponent. We see his father preparing for an attack. His eyes glow red as he calls someone named Tsuchida, telling her to come out and face him like a man. He then swings his sword forward, slicing a building diagonally, making it explode into countless pieces. Sora's father is really a brute. Hiro is there while the men celebrate, and Sora is simply amazed by his father's strength. Sora's father then puts the sword away. Sora asks one of the men if the boss was always like this. He asks if Sora doesn't know that the boss is known for getting into fights quickly. Sora asks if he didn't use violence as a last resort. They say that he said it at first, but at that time he still believed that the army would solve things. A lot has happened since then, and for the military, as long as the hunters are doing their job, and the civilians are not starving, they don't mind some fights. They're not going to bother managing every little struggle that comes up. That's why solving things with your fists is the fastest way. If you can win a fight, there's no need to talk, and if you can't win, talking won't help. Anyway, basically, he hits first, and then he talks. Sora says that, from what he saw of the monk, the strong usually avoid trouble. Maybe he's getting it wrong, or does this mean that you can get out of control at will if you have as much power as your father? Or maybe he was just blinded by appearances. We see the monk watching from above, looking at the boss he loved, and finally we find out his name, Yukio Susan. She is a level 75 rat, and has an ability called Kenai. He says a level 90 boss appears to have been vandalized with no weapon markings. It's scary how there are still so many strong people out there, so they need to act with caution. He puts on his blindfold, and his level is reduced to 45. Back at the building that Sora's father destroyed, a man starts screaming calling him a bastard. He wonders if he thinks things are still the way they were when the evacuation shelters were built. Sora's father says that things certainly changed, and irritating bastards like him appeared, and that he should have killed him in that time. The man asks if he's afraid or something, and Sora's father says he can't just ignoring him, as he begins to draw his sword again. The man seems surprised, saying that he's provoked him enough already, and that the guy he's trusting should show up soon. Asking if he hasn't been enough, he starts shaking, calling Sora's father a coward, telling him to draw the sword, and that he will become fuel for the tiger's roar. Sora's father then draws the sword and advances. The man raises his shield, and we even see the image of an angelic woman appear behind him. A man smiles, saying that he fell into the trap. He screams saying, "Not one more step." We see the man with the blackboard that Hiro mentioned show up, saying that he has courage to start a fight at the shelter. We are introduced to Osamu Sui, a level 63 assassin. The man recognizes him, asking why he is there. Sora asks if this is the soldier who is supporting the tiger roar, and if that's a coincidence. He can sense many people in that building. He's definitely there on purpose. Then he starts walking towards Sora's father, and wonders if this is also the man who is supporting them. Yuzui says that according to Article 15, dueling in shelters is prohibited, and violators can be punished with 15 days in prison, or even the death penalty, asking if they will follow the instructions. Sakuya realizes that was the plan, to provoke him, and when he responds, they would use the law to arrest. He's not worried about his corruption being exposed, and doesn't think he's being framed so blatantly. Once imprisoned, they can extend his sentence indefinitely, and even make him disappear. If they lose it, their guild will be crushed, and the others defeated immediately. He wonders why the military is going so far to destabilize the balance, asking if there is an ongoing power dispute. She doesn't know what they want, but she can't admit. No crime. He says they're wrong, and they weren't hurting. As someone who supports the United Guilds, you can't admit to a crime without proof. Yuzui says that those sword marks are a clear proof. Sakuya laughs, saying that he can only be joking. It may be a test, but it's proof that he was trying to reform the building, not to start a duel. Yuzui says it looks like he hasn't understood yet. It's not up to him to decide that, it's up to him, Yuzui, and if he says it's a test, then it is. By the time he put his feet up there, he had already lost. We see men on every floor pointing guns at them. They are practically identical. He tells them to surrender obediently, or they will be arrested. Sakuya looks surprised. The men start yelling at Sakuya, telling him not to lose, and that if they are willing, then they should just take care of them. Sakuya tells them to calm down, and that since they are within range too, the men will not fire. Yuzui starts laughing. Sakuya says that against a level 63, it will be a bit difficult, especially since he is a fast opponent, like an assassin. But if he makes Tsuchida a hostage, they can overcome this. He begins to draw his sword, and both Sora and another say they're well. Tsuchida invokes Sword Shield, saying that it cannot be the weak link, and that an agent's defensive abilities are different from those of other classes. You can analyze much more about the coming attacks. At that distance, he knows that he can block Sakuya's sword. His sword shield can only block swords, but that's why, when facing one, he can function far beyond his level. He can easily block a full attack from a level 69 warrior. So, an attack by a level 65 warrior is nothing, which means Sakuya won't be able to cut that shield. Then he screams, asking her to surrender. Yuzui also asks if he is going to surrender peacefully, or if he will be thrown in a cell with all his comrades, and says that he must make a decision. Hiro screams for him, and Sakuya starts to get frustrated. He undoes his aura and raises his sword towards Yuzui. Hiro and the boys are surprised when Yuzui says that he has made a wise decision. They can't believe that the boss is just accepting this, but Hiro understands that he has received a signal from the boss. When he raises the sword, it means that it is time to prepare for an attack, and if he drops it, it is time to attack. They don't know that he and the boss had planned this. Sakuya drops his sword, and Suda is shocked to see that the sword disappeared, only for Sakuya to advance directly towards Suda. He says that this will not be a problem, since his shield has a spell to block sword attacks. Sakuya begins to summon his sword again, and Tsuchida is very confident, saying that there is no way he will break the shield. Hiro extends his hands forward, and we see stones coming out of the ground, and starting to line the tip of Sakuya's sword. He then uses it to shatter Suda's shield, throwing it backwards. He says that they made a hammer instead of a sword, so the shield was immediately nullified. Sakuya drops the sword, and reaches out his hand towards Tsuchiga's face. Yuzui turns around saying that he knows what his goal is and that if he dares to touch it, he will be executed. Hiro then orders him to stop as he clenches his fist, creating a wall of stones to stop him. Yuzui realizes that it's not going to be as easy as he thought. Suda orders his men to kill Sakuya, saying that he has gone mad, and they start shooting at him. Hiro then points up, creating a barrier around Suda, surrounding him, and blocking the bullets. Sakuya says that if they manage to just stop him from moving, they can retreat. He still has his hand extended towards Suda, but in an instant, Suda disappears. Sakuya looks around, confused, and Yuzui says that Stone Hell, his ally, trapped him in the shadows, and marked the remaining magic on his shield. With that, he fulfilled the conditions to use his assassin skill, Grim Trance, and without his hostage, Sakuya is now lost. Because Suda is by his side. Yuzui says it's time to end this, and gives the order to his men to kill Sakuya. Sakuya is surprised, and so is Hiro. The soldiers ask if he is serious. Yuzui asks why they are so surprised, and Sora appears directly behind him, saying that he would also like to know why they are so surprised. Yuzui wonders who he is, asking if he really managed to approach from behind, being an assassin, and that he has no idea who it is. But he sure is an enemy, and whoever attacks first wins, so he has no choice. When he starts to reach for a potion, Suda recognizes him, saying that it is the deadly poison that the guild prepared to defeat, to the level 90 boss, and asks when he stole it. Yuzui screams, asking Sora to let go of him, and throws his daggers at him. Sakuya calls his son, and Suda says that that bastard will end up taking everyone with him. The men begin to wonder what this one is and fall to the ground foaming at the mouth due to the poison. Suda says she doesn't like this, but at least Sakuya's ally is dead. We see Sora reaching out, and holding both Yuzui and Suda again. Suda asks how the hell he can still move, since that's strong enough to kill a level 90 boss. Yuzui seems worried, saying that it's not possible that this guy is an absolute monster, because he took the daggers with his mouth, and the poison doesn't even affect him.